So tonight we're going to talk about the decline in decorum and behavior in children, and also where they learn it from, primarily their parents, the adults that should be teaching them better. If we see adults behaving badly, chances are children are going to imitate or emulate that behavior and grow up to be sociopaths and psychopaths and so forth and so on. So, my name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITdaLOGIC. I got something to say. This shit makes no sense. Let's do this. This shit makes no sense. I am the community, folks. I'm sorry, for the last 30 days, Facebook has had me suspended. I won't say Facebook jail because I had another page and a lot of you guys followed me over there. But somehow Facebook decided that I violated community standards. Let's deviate from the doom and gloom of politics for just a minute, because this goes to the heart of the matter to me. When laws and rules apply to some and not others, I have a problem with that. Now Facebook wants to call themselves Meta. Would you, folks? Facebook boasts that they have a social media platform that has something for everybody, and everybody's supposed to be treated equally. Okay, but we are the community that sets said standards. So if I'm joking with someone on my Facebook page and they don't have a problem with what I say, then why should someone else? My page, since this show has gotten popular, my page has been suspended 4 times in as many as 4 months. Why? Because I deliver a message that some people do not want me to say and do not want to hear. I said what needs to be said. I have not accepted any sponsorship simply because I don't want someone to tell me what to say, how to say, when to say it. I want to continue to say what I feel needs to be said. I talk about what's wrong with the Dems. I talk about what's wrong with the Republicans. I talk about what's wrong with the Trump publicans and public figures that I feel is behaving badly and not fulfilling the oath of their office or setting the bad example. If I accept sponsorship, folks, somebody is going to be writing me a check. They'll say, oh, you got the credentials. Your analysis is on point. But there's a way to say what you say and sell products. So the focus becomes selling something. Don't cuss. And we can make you appeal to a wider audience. Don't be so passionate. Control your emotions and we can make you a lot of money. That's not why I started doing this, folks. I started doing this podcast because I felt like I had something that needed to be said. I felt like there was a gap between all of these paid sponsors who have all of these alliances that doesn't work for the American people. So we don't get it. Straight no chaser. Straight no chaser. On cue. Last week, I've had people come to me, say, man, make sure you talk about this, make sure you talk about that, talk about Rittenhouse, talk about that. So it tells me that people want to hear my analysis. They want to hear how I come to the conclusions that I come to. And that's why I'm here. Most importantly, and I've said it 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it one more time. I want to make sure that my children, my grandchildren, and their children have the same advantages or rights that we now take for granted. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not preaching, But anybody that knows me, anybody that's worked for me or worked with me will tell you that Hank places convictions above fortune. Folks, I am, you are the community. My podcast is just like any other program. If you do not like the message, some people sign on, some people sign off, some people tune in, some people tune out, and that's cool. All I ask is for each one to teach one so each one can reach one, and we together can make a difference for upcoming communities. That's it. I want to make sure that my First Amendment rights and your First Amendment rights are not denied. If I was up here dancing and doing a TikTok, nobody would have a problem with that. All of that buffoonery is applauded. We laugh at it and it's entertaining, but there's a time and a place. This is not it. So in that 1 month hiatus, now I'm broadcasting from 2 Facebook pages. And my audience is going to continue to grow. In addition to the 2 Facebook pages, I'm also on YouTube, when I don't mess it up. With this show comes a lot of responsibility because I'm basically a one-man show. Adapt, improvise, and overcome. That's what it's all about. I want to keep us energized. I want to keep us engaged because I've said it 1,000 times. When I look at Congress, I am a Black, heterosexual, male, man, and there's not anybody there that truly represents my interests. And I've got sons and grandsons to worry about. So that's why I'm here. Adapt, improvise, overcome. You can't shut me down, baby. Moving on. This shit makes no sense. Rittenhouse. Last week, I decided not to do a show. Some people said, well, do it on Tuesday, do it on Wednesday, do it on Friday. I was tempted to. But I decided I would take a breather and let everybody concentrate on their turkeys and their cranberry sauce and all of the things that makes Thanksgiving. Some of you hit me up and asked me, what about the Rittenhouse verdict? Even more of you hit me up and cheered when the 3 men in Georgia were convicted of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. I'm going to make this quick. Rittenhouse was guilty, period. There were 2 young men who would be thriving today if their life wasn't taken by a 17-year-old carrying an illegal weapon. And after the fact, you can dig something out of an archaic rule that was born in the Confederacy during slavery to justify it. But right is right and wrong is wrong. If the shoe were on the other foot and he were Black, we know what would have happened. But let's take a look at who's really guilty. In order for me to do this, I'm going to use this whole Michigan school shooting because there are some parallels here. A 15-year-old boy's dad bought him a 9mm handgun on Black Friday. They knew that their son was, quote unquote, troubled. They had even been summoned to the school 2 times within 2 days of the shooting, and now they're calling it a massacre. So let's analyze that for just a minute. Rotten to the core, Rittenhouse got off scot-free. In the following week, one of the people who probably cheered his acquittal went out and bought his troubled son a 9mm handgun. And that's just what we know. There must be much more to the story because now the prosecutors are considering charging the parents as well. I say don't consider, do it. At some point, we have to send a message that parents are responsible for how they raise their kids. And raising these little sociopaths, these little Brian Landrys and these little Kyle Rittenhouses, and the beat goes on. If the father hadn't taught that son to be so hateful, the two of them may not have been riding in that truck. There must be more to this story, folks. Some kids are born maladjusted, but we got too many parents that are raising hateful sociopaths. So there has to be consequences. What we're seeing in recent years are children who are being raised with no regard for society rules, society laws, or society norms because it's obvious that their elders, including their parents and grandparents, have no regard for society rules, society laws, and society norms. What should have happened in the Rittenhouse case is we should have used traffic cams to see how a kid wanders into a Black Lives Matter protest without being accosted, checked, or questioned by law enforcement. They may not have been there on January the 6th, but they were damn sure out in full effect when Black Lives Matter showed up on the Capitol. And they've been everywhere there's been a Black Lives Matter protest. So how in the Helen of Troy did this kid just happen to wander into this fray of this protest unaccosted, unchecked, unquestioned? So he was the instigator. And for that reason alone, we're not talking about the part that he had an illegal weapon and he traveled across state lines, because if he was going to see his dad, he should have checked in with his dad. And maybe his dad would have had the presence of mind to say, son, don't go out there. Because being a responsible father and grandfather, that's what I would tell my son or my grandson. There's no need for you to be out there. If you go out there with a gun, you're going to be forced to use it. But see, if we did that, then we would find out that there were some racist folks in law enforcement who allowed him to go into the crowd. If we didn't set up this kangaroo court with this judge who was biased as all outdoors, maybe some other people would have been implicated in this case as well. That's some bullshiggity. I'm trying not to say F out of here, but fuck it, get the fuck out of here with that. Rittenhouse was given a timeout and get out of jail free card because of racists in uniform on the bench and in the prosecutor's office who applauded him being there. Now at least 4 kids are dead because this 15-year-old and his dad decided that he needed a gun as well because Kyle Rittenhouse got off. We almost right on the anniversary of Lil Trayvon Martin. So every time they see a George Zimmerman get off, they see a Kyle Rittenhouse get off, they become emboldened. They become embracing. They become bolder. And they just throw caution to the wind. And they feel like they can do anything they want and there's no consequence to their action. So let's prosecute him, but let's prosecute the parents as well. We need to send a message to other parents that you will be held responsible for raising up and creating these young, hateful, racist murderers. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on. Georgia. Georgia. Lord have mercy. In backwoods Georgia, of all places, despite a defense attorney who played the race card and tried to stoke the fire of white fright, 3 men were found guilty of murdering Ahmaud. Just when it seems all hope is lost, our prayers are answered. Well, folks, don't sit back on your laurels, please. Don't just wait on God, because the next day, after the guilty verdict, the Trump Republicans quietly placed the same lawyer who ineffectively created all of this stop the steal and all of this bullshit lie that Trump has been saying. The lawyer who created all of this in place, they placed the despicable Donnie's lawyer on the U.S. election board. Folks, that's like putting the hen house under the watchful eye of the wolf. Go figure. Meanwhile, none of the master coup members are testifying in front of the January 6th hearing. How did they do that? And I need to say this again. Julius Jones, an innocent man, is serving life in prison. Instead of his death sentence was commuted, so now he lives another death. Life in with no chance of parole for a crime he did not commit. We cannot afford to sit back on our laurels and applaud the one little battle that we win when there's still a war. Moving on. I'm going to say this about Cuomo, and then I'm going to shut this down. I have nothing against Andrew Cuomo. What we have to stop doing is when somebody on our team cheats, when somebody on our team cheats, when the referee makes a bad call and we know it, and we say, well, that make up for all of the bad calls that were made against us. At some point, we have to hold everybody and each other accountable for bad behavior. Otherwise, it means nothing, folks. So I had nothing against Andrew. I just have something against people not playing by the rules that you hold me to. If you hold me to a set of rules, then you should hold yourself to those rules as well. And I don't care whether you're Chris Cuomo, Matthew Gaetz, Donald Trump, or Bill Cosby, or Harvey Feinstein, or any of the others. They all should be treated equally. So the same zeal that the Attorney General is going after Andrew, I want to see him go after Trump. I don't know how in the Helen of Troy Matt Gaetz is still in Congress when it's been proven that he trafficked these young girls, that he had sex as a congressman with underage young girls. But because he's a Trump supporter, he's been allowed to walk around with impunity, with his chest puffed out. So if you're going to do it to Andrew, do it to Matt. Hold Trump accountable. Because sexual assault is the same. There are too many women out there who are drawn to men with authority and power, who will gladly Bathsheba and give it up. You have no reason whatsoever to be taking a woman's dignity simply because you feel like you're untouchable. So, Chris, I knew this was going to come. I knew it was going to come because Andrew just got bolder and bolder and bolder. Growing up as in a governor's mansion and watching their dad, you know they had some Kennedy misgivings. You know they did some things that were covered up. So when people grow up lawless and feeling like the laws don't apply to them, when people grow up and they're not held accountable for their actions, this is what we see. Whether it's a Kyle Rittenhouse or Matthew Gates or Getz or whatever his name is, or a despicable Donnie Trump. Folks, we got to do better. I know the holidays are upon us. Like I say, 2021 is pretty much a wrap. So we're going to cruise out. I'm going to touch on some high points. Then I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to give you a chance to recharge and catch your breath. But in the meantime, I'm urging you to pay attention to my pages, because these people are quietly making moves. When I talk to my Facebook friends and they say, you've always been like that, but that's you, not all of us that way. I said, that's fine. But how is it we could be so apathetic in their supporters could be relentless and never give up and never get tired and never give in. So we got to do better, folks. We're going into the midterms. We've got to make some changes. We got to make sure that we have an overwhelming majority in the Senate, especially. We've got to hold Sinema and Manchin accountable. They need to be censored. The Democratic Party needs to, and we as Democrats, we as independents, and even those that are Republicans out there, you need to say, if these folks are not following Biden's agenda for building back better, if we have to wait on 10 years for some tax breaks or for an infrastructure plan to kick in, that's 9 years that they have to reverse it, folks. So we have to get energized. We have to stay engaged going into 2022. I've already claimed it. 2021, if you know something about me, this has been a hell of a year for me. But I ain't done, folks. I think 2022 is going to be bigger than 2021. And it's up to us to make these changes. We can do this, people. So here I am with my rah-rah and win one for the Gipper and all of that. So going into your holidays, let's start to wind down. Let's start to catch our breath. But I'm going to be on you. Let it be known. I'm going to be on you 2022 because we got lots to do. And our children deserve it. So with that, I'm going to say, that's all I got for you tonight. Go to my YouTube. Sign up for me, people. Sign up to my YouTube. Because any day, as Facebook has shown, they have the power to silence my message by denying me a platform to say what needs to be said. So if you're on one of my Facebook pages, make sure you're on the other. And if you get a Facebook friend request from me, or if you haven't seen it, it's basically close to the same picture. I'm sitting there with this t-shirt on, so you can't miss it. Go to that page and accept that friend request, and make sure you follow me on Facebook so that you will know when I post some of these stories, so you can see for yourself what I'm talking about, because there's no way I can cover all of this in 30 minutes. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, people, give me a thumbs up. Leave me some positive words of encouragement. Tell me what applies to your life. Tell me what you liked about it. And then go a step further. Hit the bell. Share it with somebody else. Tell them to give me a thumbs up too. See you next week, right here. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. My name is Hank Batiste. By the page, I'm called the Renaissance Man of Rennie. This is OMITdaLOGIC. I got something to say. This shit makes no sense. It's always important, folks. I wish you love. I wish you peace. And like your mind, hair grease. I'm out of here. Good night, folks.